Hello and welcome to this week's journey on the road less traveled. Gary L. and Gigi's Boo. Hello, Gigi's Boo. What are you up to?
So, I'm here.
You here? You here? The Boo Boo Bear is on board.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry about last week.
Well, yeah. Yeah, last week. Do you want to tell them what's going on or what was going on or what do we do?
You know, so much has happened, I don't even know what's going on. My dad's real sick. My mom's real sick. Last week, everything was just kind of haywire. So, we just had to, my niece came and she got on the computer and boy, she went a little wild. She's only 9 and she loves to play those games. And I tried to clean up the computer and ran into a lot of malware and a couple of viruses, and then got on and found out something told me just to check the mail. And when I checked the mail, she had used our PayPal account and had joined some sites that you had to pay to get to play the games. So I was on the phone with them, with PayPal, and trying to get everything squared away. So we just had a real rough week last week with the computer mess and everything else. And by the time we got it all done, it was just too close to showtime. We just couldn't get there. And my dad, like I said, sick. My mom's come down sick with that nasty stomach virus. So I'm in the midst of taking care of all them. Hiya, Graham. It's good to see you.
Yeah, that's the perils of live radio. Most of the time, the only person I can think of that has never, to my knowledge, happened to in many years is our good friend Hal Anthony behind the woodshed, who was on earlier at 3 p.m. And
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever missed a show. I think he prides himself on being here come Hades or high water.
Yeah.
And we're glad so. But yeah, hello, Grimnir. Grimnir's in the house. He's the guy who runs this show. And on that note, a couple weeks ago we talked about it. I don't know if the fundraiser's still in process. I think maybe it's in process all the time, as it should be. Help out Real Liberty Media. Help them keep on the air. Lots of archive stuff. All this stuff's cost money. Did I fill out the show information? Let's see. I think I did, but I don't think I... Now, why did it disappear? Boo Boo Bear, talk for a second.
Well, I don't know why it disappeared. Why do things disappear? It was an optical illusion. That's what happened. But we're real glad to be back with y'all tonight. It's been a long 2 weeks, and it's good to see everybody in here. And I hope you'll like the show tonight. It's going to be kind of like a Piccadilly. It's going to be a lot of stuff. And we're going to get around all those topics. I had a challenging topic that Gary and I talked about this week that being who I am and where I'm from, I had never heard of in my life. And so I had to do some digging. And what's so odd is the other people that I ask about had never heard of it. But it's supposed to be a true documentation. We'll talk a little bit about that too. But it's been very interesting digging around trying to find these things out and get them all squared away for you guys. And we hope that you enjoy it. And Gary should be back.
Okay, let's try that. And hopefully that works. I had it saved, and the other times it just started by itself, but not this time. That's okay. There we go. Live radio. But anyway, what I was saying is Grimner has to pay for all this stuff. The website has to pay for archive space and the site to store all these archives. That's not cheap. That takes disk space, and as far as I know, there are very few places that give it away. So, at the very least, if you're an Amazon shopper, use the Amazon pass-through on reallibertymedia.com to do your normal shopping, because he gets credit for every sale that goes through that. So please do that. So anyway, Gigi's Boo. Let me see. Is that repaired now, Grimnir? We'll check and see. Anyway, everyone in the chat room, I think I saw Cowboy Tech speaking earlier. And Asmo.
Cowboy Tech.
Cowboy, yes.
Cowboy.
You got Asmo and Mr. Barman, who's the most advanced bot in the universe. He can hand out beer and all kinds of assortments and so forth. Beth Z is here, our Canadian friend. Of course, there's Cowboy Tech and Grimnir we spoke to. Got Moose Girl. Don't know if she's here. I think she has other things she gets into this time of day on Sunday. Have Kate, Chelsea, Chloe, Graham Z, Abidon C, Java Dr. Paul Bunyan, Roberts, Trust No One, Hello Behind the Woodshed, Dakota Free Enslaved, Yehovah, Wanatako, Kozu, Nenson Dubois, North Forest, Rain, Sock, Puppet, Hello Scientist Say, Stats Bob, Tip Bob, Ville, and Phantom. Yeah, if they're giving it away, you get exactly what you pay for. But yeah, thanks, Grimner. So anyway, what's Gigi Boo bitten? Isn't there a new family member you want to introduce, Gigi's Boo?
Oh, yes, we have a new family member. She is a boxer lab mix. She has web feet. She looks like Petey on the Little Rascals. And she is 4 months old, and I had forgotten what it was like to have a puppy. Boy, it's something, but she's really a sweet dog. We've got her, and she's settling in with, of course, our rowdy, rascally rabbit, Atticus. And they were having a few choice words over a ham bone. And Atticus thinks he's got it hid, but all he did is put it up under the ramp. So she can go out and find it anytime. But anyway, he thinks he's doing something.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's a sweet dog, real sweet. Very fortunate to have her.
Yeah.
She kind of fell into our lap. We weren't looking for a dog. This dog just fell into our lap, and we couldn't turn her away. She's a very sweet dog.
But she does, in fact, look like Petey. The only difference being that Petey had the black circle around his eye, where Allie has a kind of a solid black. But the resemblance is uncanny. So perhaps that's appropriate to this crowd.
She's really cute. She's very good. She already responds to command, heel, stay, sit, all that stuff. She's good. She's going to be very smart. But labs are normally smart dogs.
Mm-hmm.
The bulldog is a little. They're a little goofy at times. Yeah, she will keep me on my toes, Graham. And thanks, Sock Puppet. We're crazy about her. We really are already.
Yeah, puppies tend to do that. And on this note, interesting segue, for those of you who have dogs, and I think it's important here, if you happen to purchase the Blue Buffalo dog food, there is an urgent recall on that. So if you happen to be a dog owner who feeds Blue Buffalo dog food, you want to look for this. It's a narrow recall. The reason for it is due to possible aluminum metal contamination. So it sounds to me like maybe a chopping blade or something like that broke in one of the machines. No other products of Blue Buffalo are involved, and there's been no reports of any injury. So But what you're looking for is your magic pencils and papers. You're looking for the home-style recipe, healthy weight, chicken dinner with garden vegetables. That's the Blue Buffalo home-style recipe, healthy weight, chicken dinner with garden vegetables, the 12.5-ounce can. And I'll drop this link in the chat room along with the others as we go along. But it has the UPC code, and it also states on the can that's Best by 8/3/2019, which is on the bottom. Unfortunately, they did not give any information as to the geographical areas or pet stores that may have stocked it. So there's a picture of the can. If you're not sure, you might recognize it. I'll go ahead and drop that now, since it's kind of important. You don't want to hurt the pooch. So there you go. That's unfortunate. Like anything, these things will happen. So, let's see, Boo Boo Bear, where do you want to start? Let me see, I had an idea earlier. How about the grocery store, since we're on the kind of the food topic? What do you think about that?
That'll be okay. Can you hold on 1 minute? Atticus has just left a gift.
Oh, that heathen.
Hang on.
He's just mad because he's not on the show. I told her earlier we need to buy him a headset so he can sit and turn his head.
Oh, Lord, have mercy.
He can sit and turn his head left and right and howl occasionally just so he knows he's on the show. Anyway, there's a German food store. Many of you probably heard of Aldi. We have an Aldi. We
love that store. Oh, yeah. We love that store.
It's a German store, but there's a new German store getting ready to crash onto the scene, and it's called Lidl's, Lidl. Lidl's. It's going to test the United States market. And interestingly, the design of the store and the colors of the signage and decoration puts me in mind of IKEA. It's very kind of a similar feel to it. It looks like they're going to, let me go to the regional announcement. Business Insider. It's a highly competitive German grocery store called Lidl has taken over Europe, and now it's planning to target the United States. We'll start opening stores in the United States in 2018, and it's like a cross between Walmart and Trader Joe's. Offers deep discounts on groceries, household appliances, clothes, and furniture. As Lidl expands into the United States, grocery retailers should definitely be concerned, especially those who are currently struggling or whose stores are more conventional. Walmart should be the most concerned, according to the retail insights for Kantar Retail, told Business Insider. Walmart's neighborhood market could feel the greatest pressure as Lidl stores will be of similar size, highly price competitive, and highly fine-tuned to offer relevant convenience store experiences. Other retailers that might be challenged include Food Line, Bi-Lo, Winn-Dixie, and Dollar General stores. Many retailers will be forced to lower their prices as Lidl expands, according to Neil Saunders, CEO Retail Consulting from Conlumino. Wow, what a word.
Lot to get out of that mouth, ain't it?
Yeah. Lidl sales soared 16% in the 3 months that ended September 13th, according to Kantar World Panel. Meanwhile, sales dropped for the period at Tesco, Morrisons, and Asda, 3 of the UK's biggest supermarkets. And let's scan down through here, see if we have some regions. The chain, which has 10,000 stores in 26 European countries, is expected to generate about $84 billion in sales in Europe in 2015, after they tally everything up. The stores are small, easy to shop, well located, and emphasize key categories such as fresh produce and prepared foods. An offer like this is well aligned to what shoppers want these days. Very like its rival Aldi, Lidl keeps prices low by limiting inventory to a lean selection of private label items versus traditional supermarkets that tend to carry several different brands. Also invests far less in customer service and merchandising than traditional grocers. Most of the store's products are displayed in their shipping cartons to make restocking quick and easy. That means fewer workers are needed on the sales floor. They also offer appliances and furniture, and last year went into fashion, went into clothing. It debuted a women's collection in August 2014 that sold out within the first 3 days. And since then, has launched a men's collection. They did not provide specifics on what the United States stores would offer. Gigi's Boo, you want to touch on where these stores are? I haven't tripped over it yet.
Yeah, they're going to be, right now, where they're going to focus is on the East Coast. And they're coming this summer, like to Virginia, including Roanoke and Christiansburg, and in North Carolina and South Carolina. An earlier debut than the 2018 time frame. So that means they're moving along. Let me say something about these German stores. I love them. I love Aldi's. I'm diabetic, so I have to watch carbs and sugar. Okay, like everybody else, I love candy, but I can't eat it. So this past Christmas, they had a lot of their German candies and Swiss truffles and all kind of things like that. So I picked up some of the candy and I just said, it's Christmas. Everybody needs a little something sweet. And so Gary kept saying, you better be careful now. Don't you eat nothing, run that sugar up. I mean, you better be careful. What is so funny is I ate the truffles. They were sweet. They were not too sweet. And they were dusted in cocoa powder, dark cocoa powder. So I did my sugar 2 hours after eating it. It did not rise. Again, they had, they call them strudels. Here, strudels are a little bit different. But these were more like fruit cakes. They were more like bread with some fruit in it, some like you make fruit cakes with, and very, very good stuff. And so I had powdered sugar on it, and I said, that'll get me. This will really get me. Tried that 2 hours later, my sugar didn't go up. Most of all your German canned food that you get over there is non-GMO. And it's just wonderful. You can tell the difference in the food stuff. We do a lot of shopping there when we shop, but most of the time I'm always putting up canning and doing stuff like that. But I really like those German stores. They're very conscientious on how they package stuff, what's the ingredients, the whole nine yards, and it's a fabulous place. Yeah, really, it's great. I've told Gary that 100 times. I'm very excited to see another one come. I hope one comes to this area.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. An interesting business decision. Perhaps they see, and before I say that, I'm going to say also that Aldi and Lidl are very similar. They have grown hand in hand in the United Kingdom, so this means that in Germany they also are basically a side-by-side type of operation. Aldi recently revealed plans to open roughly 600 stores over the next 3 years and part of a $3 billion expansion, bringing its total number of stores to 2,000. So what we see as an alternative coming into the marketplace is certainly price-driven, but quality-driven as well, because I think they look at the marketplace and see that there is an opening for non-GMO, more traditional foods. And I talked to some of the people here at this Aldi, and I was curious because the way they do things, if you haven't been to one of their stores, and as we said earlier, everything's like in this packing box. They basically just take the box off the truck, bring it in, cut the top out of it, and put it on a rack. And it's perfectly fine. Now, not everything. Some of the canned goods they take out and stack, but most things are still in
They're still in their flats.
Yeah, they're still in their flats.
The canned foods are in a flat. They're 12 to a flat,
right.
So you can carry out easy. You have to bring your own bags to bag it up, or boxes or whatever. They cut down on a lot of cost.
Right. Well, yeah, they don't bag your groceries either. So you bring either your own bag, or you can use one of their boxes, and there's usually a big trash pile full of boxes that you can get boxes from. Mm-hmm. And you pay for your shopping cart. But it's
you get your money back too.
You basically rent the shopping cart. I thought it was a really neat idea that prevents people from leaving carts all over the parking lot. So you slide a quarter into the slot and it unlocks the cart. And when you put it back, you push it into the cart in front of it. Then you hook the chain little device into the lock, and it pops a quarter back out. So
I'm kind of curious. Graham, do y'all have any Aldis out your way? And how about Cowboy Tech? Any on the West Coast? Anything like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. The other thing that I ask them about is when the groceries come in. Now, most stores, at least ones I've been around, you have to scan the items as they come off the truck. And do the inventory check to make sure that everything was in the order. Well, they don't do that there. All they do is the employees, all they do is scan the actual container. Their shipment comes in a container, so they scan the container, and the container's assumed to be the way it was when it left. So all they do is scan a container and pull everything off and start stocking. So it's a whole lot more efficient than many stores operate.
Yeah, if you're in a store, the dairy man comes in, somebody has to sign for it, count it off. Bread man comes in, you have to let them in, count it, sign it off. It's a whole lot of extra work. And with this, they know the whole container's coming in and it's counted for. You sign for it, bam, it's there.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes more sense on the large scale. And you mentioned dairy. One of the things I noticed about Aldi is that the eggs, at this store anyway, are 33 cents a dozen with a limit of 5. Now, that's crazy. That's crazy price. But if you're an egg eater, that's certainly the place you want to go. Anyway, Gigi's Boo, that's the story on that. I think we've beaten that to death. Anything else you want to add to it?
No, just if you've got one, be sure to I was telling Graham, said he had never heard of it. And I said, well, be sure if it comes around, be sure to visit. You will not be sorry. Mm-hmm. Great stuff.
No, you won't. And like I say, a lot of the stuff they import from Germany. So they have some soup. They have a line of soups, or at least I'm speaking to Aldi.
Active.
I'm speaking to Aldi now. But they have a line of soups that they import from Germany that is just amazing. Potato soup and split pea and all that stuff. It's just absolutely wonderful. Yeah. Okay, they have one in North Miami and one in St. Pete. I thought they would have one down there, yeah. And Rob Work says they have one. I'm not sure where Rob is. Texas, okay. Yeah, Robert says and have some in Texas. So, yeah, I think they're probably like the new store, the Littles. They started out on the East Coast primarily and then worked their way across and south.
Go west, young man. Go west.
That's right. Yeah, that's good. Another thing is, Jesus Boo, you want to touch on this? Just go ahead and just read this story about the stranger approaching the 8-year-old girl.
Let's see.
Meanwhile, in Australia.
Okay. Yeah. I think this is really good because this is really a true story. It said every parent should read this true story. A stranger approached an 8-year-old girl and asked her to come with him. And he told her that something had happened to her mom. And she had sent him to pick her up. The stranger asked for the password. The man got confused and the girl went away. she and her mom had agreed on a password in case she ever had to send someone to pick her up. This could have very well saved the little girl's life. Let me comment a little bit on that too. Gary and I have passwords. If he's working at home, if he calls and it's a password that could be used in a sentence and nobody would ever realize that's what it was used for. And we use that, and if that word is spoken, he knows that something's wrong. And I know when he tells me, he usually would go and say, well, I've got to go here, and this is the password. And I'll call you in a little bit. And if I say that, you know that it is to contact the police. So everybody needs to have a password set up, especially with children.
Yeah.
I know my little niece was tested at school, and she asked the gentleman that was doing the testing if he had permission from her mother to do the testing. And he said yes, and she signed a paper. She said, may I see the signature? And she recognized her mother's signature, and she said, okay. And so I went to test her. She said, crack the door, please. Because we have told them all, ask questions, never be shut up in a room with a strange man or woman, make them leave the door open, and if they don't want to leave the door open, leave. If you have to just bust loose and leave. So this is a good thing, this password thing. I'm really all for that. Now, hush, Gary, go ahead.
No, it's okay. That's good. Another thing is a duress word. And you actually mentioned the duress word. And it's just a word that you slip into a conversation that will indicate that you're under duress. Now, For example, let's take a situation like Moose Girl. She's in Wisconsin. She likes hockey. So it would not be uncommon for her to use the word Zamboni. So if you stuck a phrase into a normal sentence that said that, such and such, are enjoying their new Zamboni, then whoever
would automatically know that there's something wrong with that.
Right. There's something we know that's your duress word. Something's wrong. So that's something to consider as well. And if you want to get into the countersigns and passwords, it's kind of as much as a science as you can make it, I guess, but the military has made something of a science of it, and they actually have a study guide. And one of the things, in addition to the normal countersign and password, like, countersign blue and password is man, blue man, there's also something called a parole word, and that's not one you hear much about. A parole word, for example, if someone would say the parole word to you, let's say it's a perfect stranger that someone you've never met, and maybe the situation is a little sensitive, and you want to use a challenge and password to make sure this person's who he or she says he or she is. You might also fall back to a parole word. Now, if you would give the other person a parole word, that means that they have to tell you both the challenge and the password. So it's kind of a backup. It's a fallback situation. It really strengthens the identification, verification process. So, these are things that may or may not be applicable, but it's something to check out. And if you're listening in the archive and you missed the show and you missed the chat room, and well, you missed all the links. Dang, I hate it when that happens. But, check out the live shows and check out the RLM chat, which is an IRC chat that you can enter on the homepage. Real simple. Stick your name, whatever you want to be called in there, and just hit enter and go and come on in and say hello to everyone in the chat room. Gigi's Boo.
Yes.
And all this is neat stuff. I mean, it's kind of topical about some of the stuff that's going on, which I really don't want to get too much into now because there's been so much happening, and there's a lot more to come. And I'll just put it that way. Okay, Gigi's Boo, you were kind of interested in this story about the Toronto man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to touch on that?
Yeah, if I can. If I start coughing, I'll mute and you'll have to pick it up.
All right.
Excuse me just 1 second.
Okay. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Okie dokie.
There was a Toronto man who had been missing for about 5 years, and his family feared he was dead. But he was discovered wandering on a highway in Brazil, and the family's got him back home now. And he was last seen in 2012, and his family had looked for him all these years and just believed that, that he had just been disappeared because he did have kind of a mental illness, some mental illness. And he was his brother described him as an anti-poverty activist. And they said he got to Brazil at least part way by walking, sometimes with no shoes, as well as hitchhiking and hiding in the back of transport trucks. The family had no idea where he was until December, when they were notified that he was picked up by the Brazilian police. And they were very relieved. And the brother said that he was very frustrated all those years and had the aching question, where is he and what happened to him? And he said he felt amazed that he was alive and had made it that far. He didn't have an ID or a passport, but the Brazilian Canadian police officer, Helenice Vigel, was the one that picked him up on the highway. He had no identification, but Helenice had lived in Canada on and off, and she has a Canadian citizenship. So she began to question him in English. She said, I knew he didn't belong on the road. He was different from the Brazilians, so he stood out. When she spoke to him, he didn't entirely seem reliable, and he offered very few details about his life. But he did tell her he was from Canada. And she said, I know I can find his family. So she kind of searched online and made a connection through a Twitter account. The news, reached the family late December. And like they said, they were shocked at the news, but they really didn't want to get their hopes up because they weren't sure it was him. But he immediately went on to Brazil and was trying to get him home. But when he went to pick him up, that Anton had been placed in the hospital. And before they put him in the hospital, after he came out of the hospital, he ran away. And he headed into the jungle area in northern Brazil, in the Amazons. They said it really worried them because that's an area where there's huge predators like crocodiles and jungle cats, and they were afraid maybe that he had been attacked and, of course, eaten. But they did find him, and again they placed him in the hospital. And when his brother came to pick him up in late January, they said he looked really bad. His health was starting to deteriorate, and so they said they got to him just in time. Stefan, who is his brother, said Anton wasn't ready for an interview, but that he spoke to BBC in Brazil last week and told a reporter that he was happy to be found. And he said, I know I'm lucky to be alive, and I'm really happy to be back to return to my family. He was 5 years off the grid. It says, as for where exactly Anton had been in those 5 years, gaps are being filled in. He said that he didn't want to press too much to his brother because, like he said, he had some mental illness. And he was considered himself as an individualist, and he considered himself being tough. And some people say it didn't surprise them that he undertook the journey over 2 continents on foot. They've got him at home, and they're trying to get him the help that he needs. And he had been involved in an altercation and charged with assault and weapons offenses when he went missing before he was due in court. After the disappearance, the family notified the police, and they spread words like they did, and they looked in the jails and the homeless shelters and morgues. So when he was returned, he was picked up by the police. He was arrested for his outstanding charges, but he was later released that day on bail. He has an upcoming court battle. The family says that all they want to do is hold him close and get him into a place to get him some treatment and help, and hope he has the life that he really deserves. Personally, now, I'm just going to give you my personal belief. I do not believe this man walked all the way to Brazil from Canada. I just don't believe it.
Yeah.
It's superstitious to not superstitious, suspicious to me, because even going into Mexico, he would have stood out.
Mm-hmm.
He's blonde-headed, fair-skinned. He would have stood out. I don't believe that. I believe he had a passport of some kind, and that's how he might have hitchhiked through Mexico and then on down to Brazil. But I don't believe he walked in with no passport or no ID. They would have picked him up before now.
Yeah, that's a very unusual story. 5 years off the grid. I think we all have a pretty good idea how difficult that would be to avoid being picked up for 5 years. Yeah. Anyway, I thought it was a kind of a neat story. Not something you hear every day. Anything else you want to share on that, Boo Boo?
Like I said, I think he had a passport. I think he crossed over into Mexico, and then crossed on over the other borders, and then maybe he did away with the passport, because they said he really liked to live in poverty. That was his statement to the world, and he was an individualist.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the man just disappeared because he wanted to disappear. Mm-hmm. I think he left. He didn't want to be found.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just with the grace that the woman spoke English and found him, because he probably would have ended up in jail there,
Right.
And I don't think he wanted to do that. I think he's what old people might have called a hermit.
Mm-hmm.
He just didn't like it. He just wanted to be away from people. He didn't like people.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of gaps to be filled in that story.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Interesting. Now I don't know. Most of you, speaking of interesting stuff, at least this is to me. How many folks are aware that CIA released their CREST files, the 25-year program archive? Actually, this was released some time ago, but it was kind of a sneaky deal. They were ordered to do so in the Clinton years. And so what they did was they parked 2 computers in the Library of Congress, National Archives rather. Never told anyone what they were for. Even the people who worked there didn't know what they were for. And that's how they fulfilled the obligation that was put on them to release these formerly classified files. Well, after several Freedom of Information Act requests and the subsequent lawsuits, they finally digitized and released on their website all these files. Pretty interesting stuff, really. Things like files relating to something called the Berlin Tunnel, and then OSS collection from the original OSS and Scientific Abstracts, a section on secret writing, but the one that I want to touch on, and I think many of you will be familiar with this, is called Project or Program, the Stargate Project or the Stargate Program. Now, for those of you who don't know what the Stargate Program was, that was what people were accused of being conspiracy theorists now have been vindicated because that was their remote viewing program. Remember the movie Men Who Stare at Goats?
Mm-hmm.
That movie was designed to make light and ostracize the concept of remote viewing in government programs, when in fact, as many of the sharper folks know, anytime that they fuss too much, there's probably something to it. So the Stargate files are there. If you look at the left-hand margin all the way down, you'll see Stargate. And there are articles in there, such as Particles That Go Faster Than Light. And that was actually a Scientific American document from 1970. And some other things, such as Anglo-Saxon versus Latin parapsychology, underlying the communication barrier. That's an organic document in a PDF file. And it has several parts. Something called Grill Flame, and I'll let you look that up yourselves. Then they have Magicians Walks into the Laboratory. But one of the neatest things they have, and I actually downloaded the file, I'm not going to get too much into it. In fact, I've already lost it, Gigi's Boo. Ha! Anyway, I'll just tell you from memory, is a remote viewing session in 1984, I think it was, where they were remote viewing Mars. And actually, I went through the transcript of that session and used Google Earth and plugged in the Mars app and went from coordinate to coordinate as they directed the viewer, and compared what the viewer reported with what actually is there. And in most cases, you'll see that the viewer was accurate. So, wow. And it gets better than that. And I'll just let you dig through it and find it. But you can look up as you go through here. Like I said, we're going to make a video of that. It's kind of a dramatic presentation to recreate the actual session, and then we'll overlay pictures from Google Earth and some of the pictures from the actual document so people can see that it's no joke. That remote viewing is quite real and has been. So it's fascinating stuff, and I think a lot of you would enjoy that. Anyway, Gigi's Boo, you have a story, I think, dealing with Judaculla Rock.
Well, this is a rock that's, you might want to drop on the link in there, Gary, so they can see it. It's in the mountains of Jackson County, right outside of Silva. It's a very strange rock. It's real large, and it's adorned with mysterious carvings and writings. Ancient petrographs are said to date back almost 3,000 years. The story of the rock and how it came to be is unknown, but deeply rooted in Cherokee folklore. The rock has no definite origin and is said to date back before the Cherokee Indians inhabited the land. The drawings, carvings, and writings all seem to be some sort of map or maybe a story. Most archaeologists believe the rock might be from 2,000 to 3,000 years old. The name Judaculla derives from the Cherokee word Tusakala, which is the name of a giant who is said to inhabit the area prior to the Indians. And his name translates, he has them slanting. And he was a giant in our folklore, and his eyes slanted like Asian people, Oriental people. He was supposed to be about 7 feet tall and 14 fingers and toes. And he was a man of the land. And he's been linked with the rock. Cherokee folklore says that the carvings are the imprint of his feet, and he would jump from rock to rock. They also say that he carved the rock as a hunting guide, which rules for others to follow. As the largest in the area, he controlled all the game. Another strange fact about the rock is that several similar carvings are now being discovered in the area and along the southeastern mountain range. Now, the South Mountain Range is real steep. In fact, it comes down, the end of the South Mountain Range comes down near where my parents live, so it's down that way. But there was another story told, and it says that it was the rock can be attributed to the Moon-Eyed people, and that's when things really get strange. The Moon-Eyed people were nocturnal, cave-dwelling people who supposedly left several large strange structures, and is sheer evidence of the rock. There's a lot of mystery and folklore to this section of the state. Now, let me say this about the Moon-Eyed people. You can look them up. And I'm Cherokee. And all the history of my people, I had never heard of the Moon-Eyed people. And I'm not saying it's not so, but it's not talked about if it is so. They were described as being very fair-skinned, light-eyed, with light hair. Now, when Gary and I discussed this, they could have been Vikings. You know, they've proven that Vikings visited here.
Yeah.
Long before Columbus was supposed to have discovered. But there was another story of where they couldn't get out in the sunlight and they couldn't see except in the caves. That kind of leads me to believe it could have been, if it wasn't Vikings, could it have been albinos? Because, you know, most albinos do have to wear sunglasses out in the sun. But anyway, they seem to think it's a sacred place. It's been the site of initiation and ritual ceremonies, both from Western Carolina students and nearby travelers and locals. The small graveyard tucked not far away where strange ghostly occurrences have been reported. It's changed through the years because of the weathering. They're telling anybody if you need to come now because it's still visible, but it might not be visible in too much longer. It's made of soapstone now. Soapstone with us was very, very sacred because we carved soapstone. We made our pipes out of soapstone. We did some stone bowls and stuff, and it's very soft. You can it's kind of hard on the outside, but when you break it on the inside, it just kind of crumbles, almost like wet cement if you're not careful. So a lot of these a lot of the soapstone boulders have been found around the site and in some mining operations and stuff like that. Everybody's got their own theory about this rock. But anybody who witnesses it firsthand does feel and understand the presence and mystery of a strange object. So I've looked at the patterns myself, blew it up, and I can see something where it might have been a tree, looked like a tree, and then you've got these other markings down, and it does look like a road map of places. My question is, why don't they put a cover over it? I really think a cover should be over it, but just really don't know. But it's very, very strange and very mystifying.
Mm-hmm. And if you happen to be out that way, it might be a good little stop. Take a look. Yeah, it is. If you see on the website the different pictures, it is kind of out in the open, and it's.
I would love to go and put something over the whole rock.
Yeah,
like a piece of paper, and do some shadowing with some lead or something, and pick up all the images.
That sounds like a good project, actually.
Yeah, I'd like to do that, and then come back and look those objects up and see if you could find any meaning. I'm sure other people have done that. Some of it looks alien.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it looks aquatic. Some of it looks just like a road map. If you look, it looks like a straight row, and then you go on these different trails. Mm-hmm. Similar, that could have been a route that they took, and it also it's like the trees that they bend. The trees mm-hmm. that are shaped mm-hmm. and bent. Mm-hmm. That was their road maps years ago.
Why don't you share that? Because not many people know that trick. How to spot an old one.
The old trees. You can find them all in the forest around here, and we've asked everybody who does buy land, if you do find one, don't cut it down mm-hmm. because it has historical significance. The tree grows, and they bend a U in it. It's a perfect U. Mm-hmm. And they had to do it when it was young. And I kind of believe maybe they bent it over and kept it bent over for it to grow that way, or maybe put a large stone in it mm-hmm. and tied it over with sinewy. And they knew when they found that tree, that was a marking they were on the right path.
Right. Yeah.
And so they went.
Yeah, around here you can walk the woods and you can find them all the time.
Yeah.
And you just once you know what you're looking at, it's like the tree will grow up, and then it'll grow at a right angle, and then it'll grow at another right angle up again. So you kind of get that dip in the growth pattern.
It's almost like a U.
Mm-hmm. But once you see one, then you'll recognize it. If you walk far enough, you'll see another one, and that's how you stay on the trail.
And I will tell you this: almost all the trails, you're going to find water. Mm-hmm. They marked the trees where there was drinking water.
Yep.
So that's another,
Yes.
And of course, they had a way of getting in touch with each other. They tree knocked.
All right, tree knocking.
Yeah, and somebody would hear the knock and listen. And you got to remember, it was quieter back then, mm-hmm. so you heard better. And then they would go to the next tree and tree knock, give the knocks. And now the Western Indians use smoke signals. Mm-hmm. We tree knocked,
Right. So there's a little survival tip. So if you're lost in the woods or having to run away, if you can find these trail markers, then
they're going to lead you somewhere where you need to be.
Right. They'll take you.
And let me tell you what they always told us too. If you're ever in the woods and you get lost, look for the moss on the north side of the tree. But also find water. Go the way the water's running. Mm-hmm. Because that water's going to run into more water. Mm-hmm. And the next water's going to run into a river. And the river's going to run you to a town. Mm-hmm. That's what my grandfather always told us. He said, if you ever get lost, just follow the water.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. Well, Gigi's Boo, that's pretty cool. Just wanted to say that Hal's released his archive. His BTW RLM 202 is now in his blogcaster on reallibertymedia.com if you happen to miss it live. So you might want to jump over there and listen to Hal's show from today. Well, Gigi's Boo, it's 5 minutes till. Let's pick one to talk about. Let's save that one. How about, here's one. This whole concept of transhumanism and artificial intelligence and all that good stuff is quite the hot topic now in many circles. There's an article from Medium.com, and it's called The Startup Grind, actually. And it talks about what everyone is not telling you about artificial intelligence. AI has become so popular that we're talking about it more than ever, so much so that anything about AI becomes front page news. Popular voices in the ecosystem are so polarizing that you're left scared or excited, one or the other. Ray Kurzweil stated that artificial intelligence will reach human levels by around 2029. Follow that out further to say 2045. We will have multiplied the intelligence, the human biological machine intelligence of our civilization 1 billion-fold. That's kind of spooky, Gigi's Boo.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you look at the qubits that have, I think we're up to 1,000 qubits now on the two quantum computers that are in existence. And just that topic itself is well worth looking into, the whole idea of quantum computing. Is effectively tapping into multiverses to increase the problem-solving ability by as much as 500,000 times. So these two things go hand in hand. It says, today a group of 20 individuals empowered by the exponential growing technologies of artificial intelligence and robotics and computers and networks and eventually nanotechnology can do what only nation-states could have done before. Now, what was that, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies? What was that, Gigi's Blue Terminator?
Yeah.
This is sounding really spooky. But there are counter-arguments as well. Nick Bostrom, a popular philosopher does TED Talks, he said the first ultra-intelligent machine is the last invention that man need ever make, provided that the machine is docile enough to tell us how to keep it under control. Elon Musk probably put it best when he said, with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. Pretty radical. You can decide which way your thinking goes and see how you feel about this. I think regardless of how we feel about it, it's something that's going to happen. So, it's something to bear in mind. Don't mean to be disturbing as a close, but it's food for thought. Something worth keeping in mind, because it's our grandchildren who are really going to come face to face with this. And there's the article for anyone that wants to look at it. Okay, Gigi's Boo, it's 8 o'clock. It's time to roll. Anything you like to comment on before we close out?
No, just follow the road less traveled.
That's right. If you have the choice, you take the road less traveled, Boo Boo Bear. Thanks for joining us tonight on RLT, on RLM. And remember, help out Grimnir. Use Amazon through the website and help out. That's actually kind of a seamless way of doing it. You have to put a lot of thought into it. Just bookmark Amazon, mark that approach to Amazon, and everything you buy, you'll get credit for. Anyway, take care. Thanks for joining us tonight, and you take care. See you later.